Welcome everyone to Jen's Joyful Kitchen. I'm very excited that you're joining me here in my kitchen to learn more about the quick cooker. So today I'm going to be sharing with you how to get started with your quick cooker and what you can do to get started cooking with it right away. What about all the features? There's all kinds of things I'm going to go through. So if you own a quick cooker, let me know in the comments. If you have been intrigued by pressure cooking but just aren't quite sure yet, still keep watching because I'm going to show you everything as well. If you have questions about quick cooking with the quick cooker, please drop them in the comments because I'll be sure to try to get to all of them as much as I can. So I wanted to share the quick cooker today because this is something that I've actually been using in my kitchen for a number of years, yet it's new to many people. And if you're unfamiliar with who I am, my name is Jen Haugen, and I have been a Pampered Chef consultant for 5 years. And I really enjoy any time that I can really streamline my cooking, make it faster, make it healthy, and also helping all of you do the same. So I'm a mom on a mission to help you in the kitchen. That's what I like to do. So that's why I'm doing this video. So I hope you stay watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. And I'll be sharing more videos just like this, how you can be learning a little bit more of having more confidence in the kitchen and enjoying yourself in the kitchen too. So let's get started. I have a few things I'm going to share with you. And the first thing I'm going to share with you is let's just talk about the quick cooker and what it can do first off, because a lot of times we don't even know all the functions it has. We're going to talk a little bit more specific about the different functions so you get a little bit of a taste of what they can do. I'm also going to teach you some cleaning tricks because that's another question I often get. And I'm also going to be sharing some recipe ideas. So if you have a question, if you have a recipe idea, I want you to drop it in the comments below. So let's just get started. So when you think of pressure cooking, what do you think of? I think of it's 70% faster than normal cooking. I think of the fact that I can put in a frozen pork tenderloin and not even thaw it out and still have a meal within about 40 minutes. I think of how much money I save because I don't have to call for pizza or I don't have to go through the drive-thru because I inadvertently forgot to thaw the meat, for example, or I just don't know what to cook because we have so little time, instead saving money that way. Also, I also think of how it can really help with all kinds of meals, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And I also know, and this is like a huge one for me, it's super, super safe. Now, I grew up in a family that we had the old style pressure cooker on the stovetop with the hissing disc. It was not safe. In fact, I was told not to come into the kitchen. And so I never wanted to do anything with pressure cooking. Electric pressure cookers came out and I was totally like, no, I am totally fine with my slow cooker. This has been a really great way to have an opportunity to be a safe vessel in my kitchen. So this is really, I think, the cream of the crop because it's super safe, it's super easy, it's versatile, it's available to everyone. So if you're interested in purchasing this, of course you can. I'd be glad to help you with that. But listen in so you can hear a little bit more on how it works, what it can do for you too. So, okay, so let's just get right into what it does. First off, I'm gonna kind of hold it up here so you can kind of see. But I want to share with you some of the different things that it can do. First off, the settings it has. So I'm going to just tilt my camera down so you can see this a little bit. You can see that here's the quick cooker right here. And this is flashing right now because there's no settings set on it. But what I love is that all of these little parts here, these little lights, I can just go through them and it's going to automatically be set to a setting. So depending on what you want, that's where you can stop. And it's really, really easy to cook with because the pre-settings are there. So the first setting, we'll just go back here, is the sear setting. So this is where you would take the lid off and you would perhaps put a little oil in here and maybe saute some vegetables, or maybe you're doing some pot roast or things like that, where you can you just want to get some browning happening, right? So the sear setting on the quick cooker is actually set to 300 degrees, which is the optimal temperature to complete the Maillard reaction, which you might think, what does that mean? Maillard reaction is really just a fancy term of you want to get that kind of caramelization happening on both sides of your food. So like whether you're doing onions or maybe you're sauteing and searing your pot roast before you pressure cook it, it helps develop that crust and also the flavor of that outer edge so that it develops the flavor for the whole meal. So the sear setting is actually set for that really high temperature, almost like a flash in the pan. So sometimes people will ask me like, oh my goodness, it gets so hot. Well, there's a couple of things you can do. Number one, this is what I always do. I always put my glass lid, which you can get, this is an accessory, on top. So even if there's a little bit of sputtering of the oil, for example, you got the lid to capture it and it's all good. This is also the lid you'd use for slow cooking too, but we'll get to that in a moment. So the lid can be used. The other thing is let's say you want to make a sauce, like maybe you've cooked everything and now you want to make the gravy to go with it. So instead of turning it on the sear setting, what I would suggest is turning it on the steam setting. So that's just right next to it on the steam setting. And yes, steaming is typically meant for when you have the big lid on, but if you are just making a simple sauce and you need it to just be a little toned down in the temperature, just turn it to steam and then press the start button, because that temperature is actually set for 212 degrees. So it brings it down a little bit, so it maybe is a little bit more delicate for some of those sauces that you might enjoy making. I love the fact that the quick cooker is really all about like making it all in one pot. So normally when I make a pot roast, before I had the quick cooker, the recipe would always call for sauteing it on the stovetop, both sides. Well, that means I had to get out a pan. And then I have a pan to clean up. And then I'd put it in the slow cooker. And then I'd have the slow cooker to clean up. So what I love about the quick cooker is the fact that I can actually do it all in here. So I simply do the sauteing, both sides. And then easily it will convert right into the pressure cooker because I can set it on that setting. So it's very simple in that fact because of all these different settings. So, all right, so we've got that. We talked about searing, steaming. Like I said, you can use that for delicate sauces. But in general, steaming with the lid on is a great way to use it for vegetables, for example, or even hard-cooked eggs. Like I do the hard-cooked eggs on the steam setting, and I set it for 5 minutes. Also potatoes. There's all kinds of different things you can do when you're steaming. So anything you would normally steam, you can definitely do on the steam setting. Like even broccoli, if you love your broccoli like that bright green, somewhat crisp, but also cooked, steaming is the setting that you want to have for that. The next setting is the slow cook setting. So this is where you can actually take your pressure cooker and make it into a slow cooker, and then you don't need another slow cooker. So you can downsize what you have in your kitchen. So this is so easy as well. So you can actually slow cook with it on, with this big lid on, and that's totally fine. Or you can take that lid off. You can pop this lid on. And what's great about this lid is it has a little hole here, which is meant for a probe for the instant read food thermometer. So you can put the thermometer down through there into the meat, and then you'll know exactly when it's done. So slow cooking. It's set for 4 hours because the slow cooking setting is actually meant for like what you would cook on high. Like if it said something like cook 4 hours on high in your slow cooker, that's the setting that this would be. It's on like a high slow cook setting. So it works really, really well. I've done it with meatballs and all kinds of different things. Also, then the next thing you go is, this is a fun setting. This is the proof setting. So do you make any homemade cinnamon rolls? Do you make homemade bread? All of those things can be made proofed in here. So you'd whip them up, right? You'd whip up the dough. But a lot of times you have that little instruction in the recipe that says you need to let it rise for X amount of time. Well, the proof setting will help you let that happen. So the proof means that it's going to hold it at a certain temperature, not too hot, not too cold, and no drafts. That's one of the main problems when you let your doughs rise out in your kitchen, is that there's sometimes a draft that comes through and you don't even know about it. So that can affect the raising of your doughs. So in here, you have the proof setting for your breads. Now, you can also use that proof setting for making homemade yogurt. So that's a really quick and easy thing to do too. If you ever want to have a homemade yogurt recipe, you can just literally Google homemade yogurt pressure cooker. You'll find it. Okay, so then on this side, there's several settings for types of protein. So you have chicken and poultry, beef and pork, and fish and seafood. These are all preset to a certain amount of time, but all of these presets are also customizable. So you can always change the time. So the chicken and poultry setting is naturally set at 15 minutes. The beef and poultry or beef and pork is set at 35, if I recall. I'm going the wrong way. Here we go. 35, yep. And then the fish and seafood is set at 3 minutes. So it just kind of depends. And these different proteins, that's, based on the different styles of beef or pork that you have. But those are all making it super easy for you. So all you have to do is set it and forget it. This is for anybody, whether you're a busy mom, whether you cook for 1 or 2, whether you don't like meal prepping or you do like meal prepping. It's for everyone, even the person who forgets to thaw the meat, just like me. Okay, and then you move into soup and stocks. So the soups and stocks are, anything like chicken wild rice soup, chicken noodle soup. You could do chili in there too. I mean, there's all kinds of options. So you have that setting as well. And this is what makes it so nice is this dial. If you can see the dial, rotates through. That's how you select all of these things. So then underneath here, you have white rice, brown rice, and whole grains. Self-explanatory on those. Those are your presets for those. And then on this side, if I can go the right way here, you have the beans, stews and chilies, and dessert setting. So you have 16 different settings, including the custom setting, which is right here. This is important to know. So custom is always going to flash to 30, but you can press time and then you can go down or back up with time. So you can see that. And then you can just press the start button once you get it to the right time you want. There's also a way for you to adjust the pressure. So if you ever have a recipe that says, oh my goodness, you need to have this on low pressure, you can adjust that as well. So those are all the features. Please let me know if you have a question about any of the features, what it can do, what are some other ideas with it. We have so many different options with that. Now, it does come with this trivet. So this trivet is meant to sit in here. This is a 6-quart pot, so it's nice and deep. There's also a Pampered Chef Max, a PC Max in here. So it says the line, like don't fill it above that line, because as it's cooking, this is the reason, it's going to expand a little bit because you have the food in there, but then when you're cooking it up and when it's under pressure, it's going to expand because of the higher temperature. So you need to have room for that to happen. This is totally dishwasher safe. So let's talk about cleaning. So you have the pot that's dishwasher safe, the trivet that's dishwasher safe. If you get the glass lid, that's dishwasher safe. Very easy. Now, if you're like, oh my goodness, I really like this when it's nice and shiny, there's a couple of different things you can use to clean it. I like a couple of different things. The Barkeeper's Friend, and I also like Norwex cleaning paste. Both of those work great. You can use it with a sponge, cleans it right up, shines it right up, really is what I'm saying. I like mine shining too. Now, here's another quick thing about the lid. So I had someone actually just ask me like, oh my goodness, I know I've been cooking a lot of Mexican style foods in my quick cooker, and now I want to make a cheesecake, but I don't want my cheesecake to smell like taco night. Yes, nor do I. So here's the thing. On the inside of this lid is a silicone ring. So you can see this comes out, and what you should do every single time that you cook with it is you should take this ring out and you should put it in the dishwasher. It cleans it, gets all it tends to reduce the odor as well. And I also have like a separate ring where if I'm going to do dessert, I have a ring for dessert and I have a ring for everything else. So you have that. Now put that in the dishwasher every single time. Also, if it's like got a lot of like, cumin smell or something that's just a little bit stronger, what you can do is give it like a baking soda bath essentially. So you can kind of have it in a little bit of water, and then you can scrub it with a little bit of baking soda with a little brush, and that can help reduce that as well. But in the end, I just have 2 so that I can have one for my savory meals and one for my sweet items that I'm going to make. When you put it back in, you want to make sure that it is all the way flat inside. So you don't want to just lay it in there. You actually want to make sure it actually gets down in there. So you can see how I just ran my finger around that, and then that makes sure it's in there. One time, here's what happens if you forget. I forgot to put it back in there. I started up my quick cooker, and guess what happened? It didn't ever come to pressure. So that's what this ring is meant for. It needs this to seal it down so it actually comes to pressure. So sometimes if you're using your quick cooker a lot, you can have the instance that, oh my goodness, you've used this ring 100 times. It can get a little stretched out because you're constantly pulling it out and putting it back in. So in that case, you just need a replacement ring. So very easy to get that too. You can find that on my replacement parts page. Okay, so another quick couple of things when you're cleaning, you have this valve right here, which is where the steam releases. You can pull this out very easily. It's kind of heavy, but you want to definitely get in there and clean if you see any type of food residue or anything like that. And then it just pops right back down very easily. And then another thing you can do, now you don't have to do that every single time. I would say like monthly on that. Same with this next step. So here, this is the red indicator. You can see that right here. You can also clean in there. So how that works is there's this little silicone cover. You just peel off and look at it, just came out because I wasn't holding it. But then this can come out and you can kind of just run like a little kind of brush in there, or maybe there's, you know, if there's something stuck in there, you can get to that too. So there's all kinds of different little cleaning hacks, which is what I'm giving you. I'm going to try to turn this around with my one hand that I'm using. Okay. Set this down. Here we go. And then how easy this is, you just put it back in, you flip it over, make sure your finger's on it, and then you just pop the little silicone cover right back on. So no problem at all. Okay, so then once you're ready to cook, here are some quick things you need to know about that as well. So one thing I love the fact is this is encased in plastic. So that means it's not going to get hot for you at all. Even if you have kids around, you do not have to be leery about it at all. There are other styles of electric pressure cookers on the market that are made from metal, and they get really, really hot and cause burns. Ours is fully encased in plastic, which is what I think is the best and safest. You also have your handles down on the bottom, so one on each side. So that's important because just like what I just did, a lot of times I have my quick cooker sitting on another counter, but I bring it to my center counter so that I can cook with it there. And the other styles where the handle's up here have been found where the bottom actually falls out as you're taking them across your kitchen. Well, obviously that's not a good thing and totally breaks it. So the handles are down here. We know it's encased in plastic so that it is doubly insulated. And here's the other big one, how you release the steam on the lid once it's time to release the steam is through this valve right here. So instead of actually touching the valve itself, you have the valve button that allows you just to press it and it releases. So very simple. Now there's two different ways to release the steam when you're cooking. And you're going to find this out when you watch or when you look at recipes. It'll say either natural release or quick release or manual release. Sometimes it says that. Manual and quick mean the same thing. What that means is when the time is up, when it's finished pressure cooking, you just simply press the button and it will just let the steam out. That's what that means. If it says natural release, it means just let it sit. Don't touch any buttons once it's finished cooking and just let it sit for the appropriate amount of time. A lot of times it's about 10 minutes and it will just naturally diffuse its own pressure by just sitting there. So you have those two different things that you need to, be on the lookout for in the recipes that you're using. So you have that. Also, once it's done cooking, you're going to know on the quick cooker when it's done because, well, two things. It beeps at you like beep, 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 right? But it also will change to what it says here and it'll say warming. So then you will know, okay, it's finished pressure cooking and now it's gone to the warming method. So warming it happens every single time where every time you're done cooking with it, it's always going to go to warm, which is great because then you don't have to worry about it getting cold and sitting in there. So it's going to go to warm for up to 4 hours and it actually will count up in time. So if you don't get back to your quick cooker right away, like, one time I started to make chili, then I had to go run and pick up my kids. And then I came back. Well, then I knew it had already been finished cooking for 20 minutes because I could see that it was warming for 20 minutes. So it's a nice little indicator for that too. Okay, so any questions about kind of the setup of the quick cooker, please let me know. It really is, like I said, I was intimidated to use it, but I got cooking right out of the box with it. And here's how I did that. I just used the cooking guide that it comes with. Now, this is something that comes with every single quick cooker. And a lot of times, you buy a pressure cooker or any type of kitchen appliance and you're like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do with this? Well, this is the thing I love about our Pampered Chef Quick Cooker is that it comes with a guide to get you started. So you don't have to think about what should I do? What Pinterest thing should I look for? What Google search should I do? Instead, it's all right here for you. So once you get your quick cooker, this is what I recommend. You just open to the inner flap and you stop there. It's very tempting to start going and looking at all the recipes. And maybe sometimes, if you're really quick on learning things like this, that can work for you. But I find that a lot of times you have to get really comfortable with the settings and learning how it works. And then you can do that stuff, right? So that's why these 3 recipes are here right in the front. 3 easy ways to get started. So the first one is the best beans without soaking. So if you've never made your own, or if you've never soaked your own beans, I encourage you to try that. Also, easy to peel hard-boiled eggs, which they should just say hard-cooked because they're not even boiling anymore because they're only in a 1 cup of water. And then also simple salsa chicken. So you can use those 3 recipes to get started. And why start with those? Well, the beans, it means you're using a preset of the beans. So it gives you an idea of what that means. The hard-boiled eggs, the hard-cooked eggs, gives you the option to use the custom setting. So it gives you that sense of what using custom is like. And then the simple salsa chicken gives you the opportunity to try out a chicken setting. So you can do that as well. So now you're ready for a quick dinner once you've gotten through those 3. And you could literally do all of those 3 on the first day you get in. Everybody has chicken typically, and everybody has a jar of salsa, some eggs, and maybe some beans. If you don't have beans, try rice and you just use the next setting. And then once you've gotten through those, I recommend you just start looking at and using the charts and just pick one item off of each chart so you kind of understand how that's going to work. So beans and legumes, we talked about. Then you have grains and rice. So pick a rice. Jasmine rice is a great one. I love using jasmine rice. Maybe you want to do quinoa. I mean, there's all kinds of options, and just follow what it says to do on the chart. This is going to help you get comfortable. It's going to help you start thinking creatively about what you can do and how you can use it for other meals. Here's some vegetable opportunities. So like I mentioned, that broccoli, potatoes, squash, carrots, beets. I mean, there's so many different opportunities. So pick a vegetable and then do the steaming method, which is what typically it's always setting up to. So do that, and then pick another meat. So whether that's beef, pork, poultry, maybe you want to try just a pork tenderloin. That was the first thing I did when I got it. I just grabbed a pork tenderloin, frozen, rock solid, out of my freezer, and I threw it in here, 1 cup of water, and set it for the pork setting. I did the eggs first, so yes, I did follow the instructions. But once I was starting to move into the charts, that's what I did. So you have lots of different options. This is where meal prepping really becomes amazing, because you could do a whole bag of chicken breasts, like frozen chicken breasts, and it'll tell you in here, let's see, boneless chicken breasts, 2 to 4 pounds. If they're frozen, you could set it for 12 minutes. And then, that's 2 to 4 pounds. So whatever bag style. If it's more than that, you might want to add a little more time to it. But look at how much chicken you could cook up. So you cook up all that chicken, you chop it up. The salad chopper really helps with that if you've not seen my videos on that. But then you can have all this chicken for soups, salads. You can have it for casseroles. There's so many different options. So that's where, once you start getting into these charts, that really helps you meal plan, because you can get your beans done for different soups and chilies. You can get your grains done for side dishes or things like that. Like you could use this all on Sundays and have a lot of different things prepped out for yourself. Same with vegetables. And then of course, we're talking about the meats. So you have all of those different opportunities in front of you to try it out, all the different ways you can use it. Try the versatility. There's so many different things you can do. So the next thing I want to share with you is some recipe ideas. Oh, and I do want to give you one tip here, because this is like one thing that I'll hear people, because, a lot of us, we think we don't need that instruction manual, right? We don't need those little things that they tell us to do and what not to do. What I have found the most often, where people are contacting me, after they've gotten their quick cooker, and they're like, oh my goodness, like I was cooking with it, but the pressure was releasing. The steam kept coming out. It never started counting down. This is most often the reason for that. So this little button up here, which I'm just going to take this off so you can see it, but this little button has to be flush with the top, meaning it's not depressed. So like this is depressed. I don't know if you can kind of see that. I'm going to kind of share that. That would be depressed. That would mean you're releasing the steam. That's what happens when you do at the end of the recipe, right? But when you are at the beginning of the recipe, and I always recommend just doing this after you've cleaned it and you're putting it away, just make sure this is flush with that. The other thing to do is make sure that this steam valve, I don't know if you can see, has a little icon. Let's see if you can see that. It's got a little cloud icon. They both actually have an icon. So this steam valve and the button have the same cloud icon. What that is for is you want them facing the same direction, because that means that it's going to be able to be pressurized. So those two things tend to be the most common reasons that someone will say, oh my goodness, it was not holding pressure. Well, that's because you were letting it all out. So make sure that that button is flush with the top when you start your cooking procedure, and that this cloud icon and this cloud icon are both literally matching in the same direction they're facing. So extra bonus tip there for you. Let me know what questions you have about the quick cooker. Remember, I do come back and answer them. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about recipe ideas, because I know a lot of times we think of, okay, well, I can use it for vegetables, I can use it for beans, I can use it for meat, but what else can I do with it? There are so many different things. I tend to use mine 3-4 times a week, because I'm doing all kinds of different things with it. So I've just made a whole list here, and I'm just going to give you some ideas and give you some pictures to kind of go with them. So let's talk about pasta first. How many of you love pasta? Spaghetti, fettuccine, lasagna, macaroni and cheese? Well, guess what? You can do all of those in here. So there's actually a really great recipe to start with, chicken Parmesan pasta, inside the Quick Cooker cooking guide. It's fantastic. And the cook time for pressure cooking time is only 6 minutes. You don't have to drain any water. So that's a huge savings. And you don't have to babysit it. You're not watching the pot boil and making sure it doesn't boil over. So you can do all kinds of pasta recipes. I exclusively, this is how I make my spaghetti, how I make my macaroni and cheese. This recipe is amazing. This got chicken in it, but I often substitute beef. Lasagna. There's all kinds of different options. The lasagna, I actually do in the springform pan accessory that fits in here. So you cook it. The water's actually underneath of it, not in it, obviously. And then it's done. So that's really quick and easy as well. And then, okay, I'm going to be including that in my recipe bonus guide. So if you do want that, make sure you fill out that form that's in the comments here. Okay, so let's talk about Chinese food. How many of you like chicken and broccoli, or General Tso, whichever way you say it, sesame chicken, all of those things you can do. What about chicken teriyaki with rice? Again, you can do that in the quick cooker. So this should be your first inkling of like, okay, this is what I want to make. How am I going to make it in the quick cooker? You can do all of these things in there. All right, let's talk about soup. When you think of soup, there's all kinds of options. I mean, of course, you think of chili, wild rice, chicken noodle, vegetable beef, corn chowder. There's so many different amazing opportunities. I've made all of these recipes in my quick cooker. They work great, they taste great, and oh my goodness, how much speedier they are. So for example, in the recipe guide that you can sign up for in the comments with that Google form I've got, you actually can make chicken wild rice soup and set it for an 8-minute cooking time. Like normally that takes a lot longer, but you saute a little bit of your vegetables, You add the rest of your ingredients. You set it for 8 minutes. And then when it's done, that's when you add in a little bit of heavy cream or half and half. And it's fantastic. It's easy, it's fast, it's delicious, and it tastes like it's been cooking all day. So here's an example of that chili. So again, this one actually has chuck roast in it, but you can use it with ground beef, and that's what I do. I do homemade chili. I set that for an 8-minute cooking time as well. Normally that's an all day before pre-QC. Let's see. QC BC, should I say it like that? Before the quick cooker, I would make my chili in a slow cooker, and it would take all day. And I'd have to cook my ground beef on the stovetop, and then I'd add it in and add all the other ingredients, blah, blah, blah. I don't do that anymore. Everything is in here. This is like my one pot meal maker, right? So, okay, so you've got pasta, Chinese, you got soup. We talked a little bit about vegetables, but think about a little bit outside of the box. Sweet corn, best sweet corn and easiest sweet corn ever. I just take my sweet corn, and a lot of times I break it in half because the ears are a little bit longer, or plus, you know, not everybody wants a whole ear anyway. I put in a cup of water at the bottom. So just 1 cup of water. I put in all of my sweet corn that I want to put in there, up until the line, of course. I set this on custom, and then, oh, it's already on custom. I adjust the time to 2 minutes. 2 minutes is perfect time for this. So literally, you set it down for 2 minutes, and then you press start, and it will pressurize first. It'll cook for 2 minutes, and then when it's done, it's literally done. And it's fantastic. No overwhelming steaming hot pot of water on your stovetop, getting everything all wet and heating up your kitchen. This will take care of it for you. So that's sweet corn. You can also do your baked potatoes or sweet potatoes in here. So if you just like to make some baked potatoes up, rather than turning on your oven, do them in the quick cooker. Squash. So, you know, think of fall, you're thinking about squash. You can definitely do your squash in here. There's all kinds of ways to do that. So you can do acorn squash, you can do butternut squash, you can do spaghetti squash. They all are less than 12 minutes of cooking time. So how easy is that, right? So, and then I mentioned about the broccoli. So those are just some ideas for vegetables. Okay, let's talk about side dishes. You know, we think of side dishes sometimes, oh, I got to have something with my tacos tonight. What am I going to have? Well, I always like to make taco rice, or I like to make cilantro rice, cilantro lime rice. So this is great for that. You just rinse off the rice, put it in, set it for this time it is allotted for, and it's done. Also, Thanksgiving time. This makes the best cranberry sauce, and I don't have to stand at the stovetop. Put my cranberries in, my water, a little bit of orange zest, and it was fantastic. So, and it gelled right up. So really, really easy to use that. Also potato salad. I will use the baskets. So I'll do the potatoes on the bottom and the eggs on the top, because, you know, I put eggs in my potato salad. So that works really well. And I set that for a 5-minute cooking time. Also cornbread. We have a fluted cake pan that fits right in here. You can make your own cornbread to go with your chili if you want to. You can make that first and then do the chili itself. So you have all kinds of options. And then also I want to share with you this fantastic bread that's actually in this quick cooker cooking guide that it comes with. This multi-grain bread. It is so delicious. And so you whip this up. It only takes about 5 minutes to whip it up. And then you put it in the ceramic pot, which is another accessory. And you set it on the proof setting. And so it rises up. You bake it off in your oven. So easy and so good. You'll probably make this once a week because it's just so good. Okay, so we've got the sides. Now, what about sandwiches? Like you think about, oh, could I make sandwiches? Well, obviously you're not going to probably put the bread in there, but you can make the inner portion of the sandwich. So think about pulled pork or beef commercials or French dips, chicken salad, egg salad. There's all kinds of options. Like I like to do the pot roast recipe, and I use the roast part with the potato, like we cook the potatoes on top in the ceramic pot. And my family loves like making a homemade beef commercial on top of bread. Pulled pork, you have like similar to this carnitas recipe, fantastic. You can also do meatballs, like make meatballs for meatball sandwiches. There's so many different options and everything cooks so quickly. Like even just thinking about carnitas, this is 2 boneless pork tenderloins, and you set it for, what's it setting for? Let's see here. I'm looking. Okay, 8 minutes. You put it on the beef and pork setting, and you adjust the time down to 8 minutes. How easy is that, right? Okay, so that's some sandwich ideas. Then what about, like, it's Mexican night, right? Taco Tuesday. You can do salsa chicken, which we talked about. You can do regular taco meat and do all that and have rice cooking on top in the ceramic pot. You can do fajita night in it. You can do enchilada, little enchilada, like pasta, even like almost like a casserole. You can do burrito bowls. You can do all kinds of great things that have kind of that Mexican flair. Delicious, easy, no babysitting, yum, right? And then think about, like, what else? Okay, so we talked about pot roast. What about ribs? You know, a lot of us like ribs. Here's like a really great recipe for that. Also goulash, pepperoni pasta. I mean, things that your kids might like too. Beef stew. This is another one that's in this cooking guide. So I encourage you to definitely use the recipes in the cooking guide, because the cooking guide really, really walks you through step by step. Okay, do this, do that. It's so easy though. It's not like a long drawn out process. Another thing I'll tell you is when you search for a recipe, let's say you search for tacos in a pressure cooker, for example, you'll get different recipes to pop up, but you need to remember, like, how to read those so that they adjust to your quick cooker. So quick cooker is always set on high pressure. So if you ever see a recipe that says cook on high pressure at whatever amount of minutes, you can just cook on the custom setting. Very easy to do. If something ever says to saute it, you use the sear setting. Those are interchangeable as well. So you have all kinds of different options for recipes. You can see with all of those ideas, like, why I use it so much. I use it all the time, no matter what the season, because even in spring and summer, when you don't want to heat up your kitchen, this is great for not wanting to do that. Like, it doesn't heat anything up. It takes little energy. It cooks fast. And then in the fall and winter, all those hearty comfort foods, soups, stews, chilies, roasts, you know, all those things that we really do crave, but maybe we don't have the time to make them. I never made roasts before I got this, because it just was, to me, too labor intensive. Now I just do it quick and it's done in less than an hour, and it's delicious, like it's been cooking all day. So all kinds of things. So I'm going to just remind you. So yes, the cooking guide comes with the quick cooker. But if you want some bonus recipes, like my personal bonus recipe guide that I have all my favorites in, please fill out that form, that Google form that's at the top of the comments here, so that you can get in on that, and I'll send it right over via email to you. And then you can also, if there's any other questions, you can respond back and ask me any more questions that you have. But I hope that you've enjoyed learning about some of the features about the quick cooker, what it can do, how to clean it, some of the different recipe ideas, and that there'll be more to come. So if you don't already like my page, Jen Haugen RD on Facebook, please do that. Hopefully you like this video, share it with a friend, and also definitely get in on those bonus recipes, because I'll send you some of my favorites, my favorite macaroni and cheese, wild rice soup. I've got like, my lasagna's in there. So there's all kinds of different things in there. So you can definitely get in on that too. So follow me over on Facebook as well, Instagram. I always share my little cooking adventures through those as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have other questions, again, please fill out that form. I'll send you the bonus recipe guide, and then you can ask me other questions as well. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoyed this fun video.